Hello, artists. How are you today? Stephanie Aune once again coming to you with another mixed media collage. This is number 30. So on this particular napkin background, it does have some ephemera underneath of the napkin, and then that beautiful, beautiful napkin that was put over it. As you guys know, I have over 30 of these napkin backgrounds. So on this particular one, I did end up deciding to cover all of it, as I did with most of the napkin collages, honestly. So what I have done here was taken the shimmer sprays, but they really weren't giving me enough of a shimmer. And then I remembered my distress crayons. And since the paper was already a little bit damp, the bronze color, which I think is the one I'm using here, is the antique bronze. It's a really beautiful color. Here I'm running out of my seedless preserves, so I'm just trying to put a little bit of shimmer and interest in the background. I didn't really know where I was going to go from here, but I did know that I wanted something that had a little bit of a metallic feel to it. As you know, I really enjoy that metallic look. Here I'm coming in, I don't know what color that is, maybe the peacock. Anyways, so as you know, I like to put a little bit of a layer of Mod Podge over the top of my distress crayons, and the reason why I do that is that it sets them, and then it also gives it a really cool texture, and it gives it a bit of a glossiness. When you're doing this, be sure to keep that Mod Podge light enough. Do not put a big, heavy, thick layer of Mod Podge here. I'm actually taking some of it off because look at the cool texture that I'm getting underneath of there. That piece of Chinese writing and such. So all of that has had Mod Podge put over the top of it. You still have a little bit of transparency, and it's just really pretty where it's at. So here I'm definitely trying to decide what image to use for this particular piece. I'm taking colors from the dual image. So you guys might have been watching lately where you see I run through a bunch of backgrounds through my LaserJet printer, and then I found a bunch of Victorian images, and the reason why I use Victorian images is to avoid copyright laws. And then I print the images over the top of the background, and that ends up turning out really super cool. So I'm just digging through my stash, and I'm trying to find the right pieces of paper that I want to use in this collage. And then I go through and I search all of my words and try to find the right meaning for the particular look that she's giving us. Now I really like this piece of painted chipboard because it does have some of the browns in there and some of the blues, which really pulls in the colors in her hat and also the colors in the background. So I'm always looking at how to create a harmonious composition. I really loved that blue Cuttlebug piece of file folder there that's been painted in the metallics. I really love it. So I decided that I wanted to use that to complement the piece itself. So as we know, orange and blue are opposites, and that kind of coppery color that's in that background worked really well with this blue. And here I have torn all the edges of that piece of paper, the Cuttlebug paper, and then I went through and took the StazOn and edged all of it. I took a permanent ink for the edging. I really didn't want to risk getting a non-permanent ink on there. See how carefully I'm doing that. A non-permanent ink is going to smear as soon as you put Mod Podge or any liquid over the top of it. So here I'm playing just with more pieces of paper, trying to decide how I want my composition to be. It's not balanced, but but it is rather balanced in its own way because we've got a piece of blue on one side and a piece of blue on the other, but it's definitely an asymmetrical composition. And I decided that I wanted that other little piece on there. So now we're taking our piece of chipboard that just has some paint on it. That's out of my stash, and we're putting the image on it in a nice little frame. Makes a really beautiful frame for the piece. And then I'm taking my saying that I've chosen. Never give up something that you can't go a day without thinking about. And I decided to measure to see if it was straight, and it wasn't quite exactly straight. I tried to pick it up, and it was not going to do it. So you have a couple seconds to move it. You don't have that long, and it depends on how thick your Mod Podge is. You just kind of have to go with it. Here what I'm doing is just making sure that I have that piece of, it's kind of a Baroque wallpaper. Ancient wallpaper is what it reminds me of. Not ancient, like Victorian wallpaper. So I wanted to make sure it was straight up and down. So I have my see-through ruler, and I'm making sure that it's straight up and down. That's just part of my craftsmanship. So here we are taking some Fabri-Tac because this is a heavier piece of paper that we're putting onto a lighter piece of paper. So with that, we just kind of have to use a little bit heavier glue than Mod Podge. I find it works much better, and I decide to line it up and make sure that it was at least on straight across. Yeah, so when you turn the page, it doesn't have this big wonkiness to it. It's just part of craftsmanship, and we have the time to take just a couple extra seconds, right? It just takes 2 extra seconds to make sure it's on there straight. Now I'm bringing in my Stabilo All 8046, and first I decide to trim up the edges. And now I'm going through and edging everything with my permanent ink. You can use StazOn, you can use archival, you can use any permanent ink that you have. It doesn't just have to be StazOn. Again, I'm using the Timber Brown because I've used it throughout the whole process. I decided it needed one little bit more of detail, so I found this little piece of, might have been jewelry at one point, hard to say. It's a charm, and decided that it offset it perfectly. Have a great day.